and Best Bets live stream. My name is Rob Dauster. The gentleman you see on the screen next to me is the one and only Jeffrey Goodman. Jeff, what's going on, man?
Oh, Saturdays, man. They overwhelm me. They do. They overwhelm me. Like, I can't figure out. I mean, I've already put in, like, not in the bet spurts yet, but I've already got about 15 written down. You know, like, I just can't get out of my own way from trying to do, like, I want to keep it at single digits, and I cannot do it every Saturday. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming.
There are a lot of college basketball games to be played. All right. Unless you have anything to say about Maryland, Penn State, we're just going to pretend that all of the basketball that was played on Friday night did not happen. We're going to pretend that Marshall, playing against a team that didn't have their best player and didn't have their third leading scorer, did not blow a 21-point lead with 15 minutes left in the game. We're just going to act like that never occurred. Because it didn't. As far as I know, I don't remember that ever happening. My bank account doesn't remember that ever happening. So we're just going to act like that never occurred, that never existed. Marshall, Dan D'Antoni, you guys are not dead to me. I have other things that I need to get to. So that's where I'm at with it, Jeffrey.
So disappointing, but let's move on. We got a lot to cover on a Saturday. Let's get right into it. And what is the game we start with? I mean, like, do we start with the biggest unranked game in the history of unranked games?
Yeah, I guess we have to. Duke, North Carolina.
Like, let's start right there. I mean, listen, the first time since 1960 that Duke and Carolina will play each other and neither team will be ranked. But you know what? I'm kind of, like I've said, I'm more intrigued to watch this game than I have been in many a year, because it's going to be important for both teams. I mean, listen, K has made it every single year, other than the back injury year, to the NCAA tournament. Roy Williams hasn't made it twice. Once was his first year at Kansas when they were ineligible. And then also the year after they won their second national title at Carolina. So these guys are like used to being in every single year. And my guess is one of the two will not make the tournament this year. And my guess is if a team goes 0-2 in this series, and this is bout one, I think that's the team that ends up being on the outside looking in.
I would not be surprised if both got in. I would not be surprised if both teams ended up missing the NCAA tournament. The funny thing is, like, I don't think that this is going to be a good win for a tournament resume for either of these teams. It's one of those years where it doesn't really make all that much sense. So let me ask you this.
Not a good loss, though. That's not a good loss.
Duke is, it's definitely not the kind of loss that'll get you bumped up in Jeff Goodman's top 25, daily top 25 rankings. So where do you stand on it? Duke is favored by 4. The total is 145.5. I'm a little bit worried about what Duke is going to do inside against North Carolina's bigs. Like, North Carolina can struggle as much as they want. There's something that's always going to be consistent with the Roy Williams team, and that's the ability to get on the offensive glass, and that's the ability to score in the paint. Alternatively, Matthew Hurt, Jalen Johnson, that's who kind of plays the 4 and the 5 for the most part for Duke, and those guys are going to be able to pull North Carolina's bigs out on the perimeter. So where do you stand on this? Where do you stand on this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Johnson's not going to pull guys away that far. I mean, they're going to let him shoot the ball. So I don't think he's the issue as much as I think Matthew Hurt is, because they don't have anybody who can go out there and guard a stretch 4 like Matthew Hurt. But I would just say, to me, more than anything, I would say this is probably going to be a close game. Many Carolina Duke games have come down to the wire. I would take the points here. I would just take the points, because I feel like, again, you don't know what's going to happen in this game. The road team has won plenty in this, especially this year when there's going to be no fans. It's not a huge home court advantage or anything like that. Duke had looked good for a while until that Miami loss, right? I mean, they started to look better. They're in their last 10 games, they've split against each other, but Duke has won 3 straight against Carolina. But Carolina was atrocious last year, absolutely atrocious. They're better. They're not great this year, but they're certainly better. The key thing that I'd normally worry about is the young guards going into Cameron, right? Playing against Duke with the Cameron Crazies. They don't have to worry about that. I mean, that's not an advantage. Like, Duke's home court is bigger than anybody else's home court advantage when they have fans. It is. I mean, Kansas probably right there with them, but Duke to me is number one in a home court advantage because you have the Cameron Crazies on top of you. It is intimidating for a freshman to go into that environment, especially freshman guards for Carolina that haven't been great this year.
Yeah, my only concern with that is I think there's a very real world where North Carolina just is not that good. Remember, like, they're coming off of a 13-point loss to a Clemson team that lost by roughly 873 to Duke last weekend, right? Here are the wins. Like, North Carolina went on a run. Here are the teams they beat when they went on the run that everyone was so excited about. They beat Pitt. They beat NC State. They beat Wake Forest. They beat Syracuse. They beat Miami by 2 when Miami had like 9 guys, right, including like 3 walk-ons. They beat Notre Dame by 1. They lost to Georgia Tech in that stretch. They lost to Florida State in that stretch. They lost to NC State in that stretch. That dates all the way back to Kentucky, right? Kentucky is probably their best win on the season, unless you want to include Stanford in that mix, which they got like at the very start of the year. So I just don't think that this North Carolina team is very good.
But I don't think the Duke team's very good.
I know it's a catch-22.
Why they're both great.
Here's what I'm going to do. So I think that Duke is going to try to play at pace, right? I also think that North Carolina, we know that they want to be able to run. I think North Carolina is going to be able to get every second chance opportunity that they want to get. I think that Duke is going to be able to exploit the matchup with Matthew Hurt. Like, I would not be surprised if Matthew Hurt went for like 28 today. I think it's that kind of matchup. Yeah. So I'm just going to take the over. I don't think either of these teams are very good defensively. I think both of them have exploitable matchups, and I think they're going to try to play up tempo. So give me the over.
Yeah,
if there's nothing else, then just bet the over, right?
I'm going to take the points just because, again, I don't have a great feel. So I'll take the points in this one and feel not great about it, but I'll feel better than giving the points in this one. I mean, I just don't know how you can feel good about giving the points in this one. So I'll take Carolina plus 3.5. You got what, over 145.5? That's actually not bad. I kind of like that too.
Yeah,
kind of like that.
All right, so there are 6 like really what I would call big matchups today. So let's just kind of roll through them in order of when they tip off. First is going to be Alabama at Missouri.
Yeah.
I believe Alabama is laying 2. Let me just double check to make sure that is still the correct line. I got it right up here at Bet Rivers. By the way, Bet Rivers, our new sponsor, our new partner. If you can get in now, if you have not used them yet, and you go and you log in, and you use the promo code BIGGAME500, BIGGAME 500, you will get $500 in free Super Bowl bets if you bet $100 on the Super Bowl. Deposit $100, bet that money on the Super Bowl. You're going to get $500 in free bets, Jeffrey. That's free bets, $500. It doesn't get much better than that, courtesy of our friends over at Bet Rivers. All right, so Alabama, Missouri.
Yeah.
The line, Bet Rivers right now has it at Alabama -3. The total is 152.5. Where do you stand on this one?
I'm not going against Bama. I'm not going against them. I mean, they've been so hot. I mean, 10-0 in league play. They've been a little banged up. Done a good job without Jordan Bruner. Like, people don't talk about that enough, that they're without their starting big man. And Herb Jones has been limping around. It's their best start in SEC play in 65 years, Rob. Everybody's on this bandwagon now. I've been on it before anybody. I'm pretty sure I was the first member of the bandwagon 3 years ago.
You were on it 3 years ago. You've been on this bandwagon since before the ink was dry on a contract that Nate Oates signed. You were on the bandwagon.
No, that
was part of the deal. Like, look,
pretty much.
I don't know if I'm really supposed to be saying this publicly, but when part of the contract that Nate Oates signed when he went to Alabama was that Jeff Goodman has to be on the bandwagon. People don't know this. You're not totally unbiased in this situation. Like, you're written into that contract that Nate Oates has at Alabama. So
whatever the case, they're finally making me look good. It was 2 years of absolute embarrassment.
It took 3 years. Nate Oates finally got there.
It did. So I'm going to stick with the Crimson Tide here, Roll Tide, and I think they're going to cover. Missouri's tough, though. They're a tough team to figure. I mean, they got good players. Pinson's played well. They got both Drew and Mark Smith. Obviously, Jeremiah Tillman's had some huge games. I don't have a great feel on Mizzou, but I got a feel on Alabama. They've just been great. I just don't know if they're good enough mentally to run the table in the SEC. And this might be, honestly, Rob, this might be their most difficult game left.
Yeah, I mean, is Missouri the second best team in the SEC? I'm looking at the schedule right now, and they don't really. Yeah, they kind of gone through all their tough games, unless there's something that needs to be.
I don't think they're
the second
best team. In right? Wouldn't you say?
I think it probably is Missouri. I want it to be Florida, but I don't know if we can trust a team that's kind of gonna get raked over the coals by South Carolina at home. So it is what it is. I would probably be on Alabama in this spot. The one thing that I will say is that like Missouri's defense, when they are when they can kind of force you to shoot jumpers and take that away, like that's kind of what their strength has been. And Alabama's a team that wants to be able to knock down jumpers. So I don't know. I'm not going to bet against Alabama in this spot, but it's not my favorite spot of the day. It won't be one of my picks, but there's no way that I'm taking Missouri in this spot.
Yeah, I'm going to probably take Alabama. I mean, my whole deal on a Saturday, honestly, is I want to flip on games and have an interest in every game.
Yep.
Every game I'm looking at. And Alabama to me right off the bat, I feel pretty good about them.
All right, let's keep it moving. We got a lot to get to. Kansas at West Virginia. West Virginia is laying 2. That total is 141.5. What do we got here, Jeff?
I'm going to take Kansas. They've had West Virginia's number. I think they've won 9 of their last 10 against the Mountaineers. I know this isn't your typical, your mom, your grandparents' KU team. I get that. I think Bill Self would be the first one, and he has been the first one to tell me this. They've struggled. They're 2-4 in their last 6, with the wins coming against 2 pretty inept teams. Well, one inept team in Kansas State, the other being TCU. That's dangerous. But to me, again, maybe I'm crazy here. I just don't see Kansas losing this one and falling out of the top 25. If they do, Rob, it will be the first time that they are not in the AP top 25 if they fall out in 231 weeks. That is the longest in NCAA history. So I don't know. I mean, again, I don't like this Kansas team, but I think they can get hot and make some shots in Morgantown against West Virginia. The key will be, can David McCormick at least make sure that Derek Culver doesn't run complete roughshod over Kansas?
I think I like West Virginia in this spot. A lot of it's going to come down to whether or not West Virginia makes their threes. But I think we've seen how good West Virginia is offensively, and I'm buying them as a very, very good offensive team at this point. My concern is how do they stop dribble penetration? What are they going to do against guards that can put the ball on the floor? And I just don't where are those players on Kansas? So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
They don't have them.
Yeah, I do think that the over is interesting here as well. We've seen that West Virginia is very much interested in playing at pace. They want to get out and run. That's kind of what they're doing now. This is very much not press Virginia. This is a different basketball team, one that has issues. They can't really guard anyone, and they want to shoot a ton of threes. They basically turned into Davidson overnight. So I do kind of like the over here.
Hugs will love to hear that. Hugs has now become Davidson.
Yeah, well, I mean, the last time that they were this bad defensively was when Deshaun Butler was on.
Those are fighting words. Those are fighting words right there.
So I don't love a side. Again, I'm not going to be betting a side in this game. I would probably take West Virginia gun to head, but I think the over is the play here for me. All right, next up we have Texas is playing at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is coming off of that loss to TCU where I don't know what in the world Cade Cunningham was doing on that last possession. Did you see that? There was like 17 seconds left in a tie game, and he went, and I thought he must have forgotten what the score was because I don't.
Either that or just got rattled by he got rattled by something. Either he didn't know the time or the score. One or the other, he didn't know.
All right, so Texas is laying 2.5. The total is 145. That game is being played at Oklahoma State. Texas is back to full strength. Oklahoma State is back to full strength. Jeffrey, what do you like here?
I mean, Texas has already won on the road against Kansas. They blew Kansas out, remember? Blew them out on the road. And they beat West Virginia on the road. So, they've got confidence they can go in anywhere. I mean, Stillwater for them is nothing. They won at Allen Fieldhouse. So, I like Texas here. I do. I mean, I want to say that Cade's going to come back, bounce back from that, and just absolutely dominate because you know how much I love Cade, and you do too. I just think Texas is a better overall team. Ultimately. And Andrew Jones has been playing out of his mind ever since. I'm going to take some credit. When Homo and I had him on the pod, he wasn't making shots. He was doing everything else, right? But he was not making shots. Over in league play, I think he's shooting 41% from three in league play. So Andrew Jones, keep it going, my man. Love it. And I think they go into Stillwater and get another road one.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. One thing that I think is worth mentioning, I don't know how much value it actually has, is that Greg Brown and Cade Cunningham have known each other forever and have played against each other forever. And if there's anybody that is kind of physically built to be able to slow down Cade Cunningham, it's Greg Brown. So
Greg Brown's physically built to be able to slow anybody down.
Yeah.
I mean, he's such a freak.
Yeah. And he's also he's not going to get out physicaled by Cade Cunningham. So I like Texas in that spot as well. All right. Illinois hosting Wisconsin. And what's probably the best matchup of the day, at least in terms of rankings and all that kind of good stuff. So Illinois is laying 4. The total is 136.5. What do you like there, Jeffrey?
All right. You want me to blow your mind? How about this? Wisconsin in Champaign has won 7 straight games in Champaign.
It's not
pretty
bad.
Impressive. I mean, that's one that you're just wow, that's a little shocking. I think that ends today. I do. I think it ends today. I think this is obviously Illinois' best team they've had in 8 years. I just think, again, Wisconsin's so fundamentally sound, but how do they guard some? And with Trent Frazier playing the way he's playing, I just think it gives them a different dimension. How are they going to contain guys like Curbelo and Io? I just don't think they are.
Yeah, I really, really don't like this line at all. What we look for when it comes to Illinois games are teams that can pull Kofi away from the basket. And the one thing that Nate Reavers and Micah Potter can do is pull Kofi away from the basket. They also play 2 centers a lot. And Illinois, I mean, we talked about this the other day. Illinois' best 5 is a really, really small 5. They basically, it's probably DeMonte Williams at the 5, maybe. Yeah. So I that matchup right there just kind of screams okay, advantage Wisconsin. But I also just don't think Wisconsin is very good. That I've been saying this since last year. I'm just not. I don't get it. I don't get it with the Badgers. So, and I actually think that that Illinois is a really good team. So what you're asking me to do is fade a team at home, only laying 4 points that I think is more talented against a team with a better matchup. And it's just the dots aren't connecting for me. It's a complete stay away. I will not have any money on this game.
Tennessee, Kentucky. I mean, I know it's not a huge game, but it's your Vols going in.
That was another one that I had on the list.
They got to bounce back, don't they? Tennessee has to win this game. If they lose this game, their season, they're in danger if they lose this game of spiraling. To me, it could go bad if they don't win this one in Lexington against Kentucky. 2 inept offenses right now, completely inept. Can they break 110 combined?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is the under is probably the best play here.
And it's low. It's 120.
It's 126. It's 126. But if this game doesn't get out of the 60s, which is kind of what I fully expect, I think the under is the play. I also, I think that Tennessee can also think this is the kind of game that they can really wake up for. Like the biggest issue that they've had is that they don't have that kind of alpha, right? They don't have that leadership, that mentally tough dude that is going to say, you know what, fuck this. Like we're not enough of this. I'm going to go take over now. I'm going to go make a play. Like they don't have. I like to call them like Band-Aid guys that stop the bleeding. They don't have that dude. And you want it to be Jaden Springer. It really hasn't been him. Keon Johnson in the last couple of games has looked like he's tried to be that guy, but I don't know if he's quite ready yet offensively from a skills perspective to be able to do it. So like, I don't know who it is. That said, when they're rolling and when they're making shots and when they don't have to worry about things spiraling, like that's when they're really good. And I can see this being a situation where like the bottom falls out for Kentucky. And I know like it's weird saying that for a team that's what, like 5-13 or whatever they are now, but like
the bottom has already fallen out. It's out.
Well, I'm saying they're at least competitive, right? They're at least trying. And I understand there's still motivation for like BJ Boston is trying to resurrect his draft stock and Isaiah Jackson wants to go pro. And like Olivier Sarr and Davion Mintz are always going to go out there and at least try, right? And at least compete. But it does not sound like things are going very well in that locker room based off of like John Calipari basically saying that Terrence Clark was faking an injury in a press conference. Like it's getting ugly there. So this is the kind of thing where I can see in this spot Kentucky coming out slow, Tennessee jumping on them and then winning like 75 to 50 or something like that. So if I'm going to be on somebody, it's probably the Vols, but I like the under significantly more here.
All right, let's run through a couple more good
ones. Hey, we got to get on the big game out west. We got to get the big game out west.
USC, UCLA?
Yeah, first place in the – well, actually, no, because USC just lost the other night, didn't they?
It's still the best – probably the best game, out west today at least. Listen, it's that rivalry. USC's got probably more talent this year with Mobley, certainly. But ultimately, this one, I would take the points here or even the money line. And just say, hey, you know what? It's a toss-up game, kind of like Duke Carolina. They're both toss-up games. The underdog's getting about 3.5 in each game. Why not just run both money lines and just say, hey, I'm going to get one of the two. I'm going to get one of those two, I think, of the underdogs is going to come through. UCLA's getting 3.5. It's not like USC's been great. They're pretty similar teams, in my opinion. And ultimately, I think I like UCLA because of their point guard play. I trust Tiger Campbell. I really do. I trust Tiger Campbell. I think he's gotten much better. He's tough. Yeah, he's small, but I like UCLA in this one getting 3.5. And to me, again, I think you go Carolina and UCLA, and you get one of the two.
Yeah, I like UCLA in the spot as well. What I'm a little bit worried about, like the fact that USC plays two bigs against a team that can go 4 round 1, especially when like they're one of their bigs and Jalen Hill can kind of deal with Evan Mobley doing the stuff on the perimeter that Evan Mobley does. So yeah, I like UCLA in this spot. At the end of the day, like this feels like the kind of game that's going to come down to coaching, and Mick Cronin is he's good. He's really, really good. They've like UCLA has lost their best player in Chris Smith, and they're still right there. Yep. Probably going to end up winning the league. So I will be on UCLA there. Is there anything else you like today, Jeffrey? There's a couple spots that I love. You're gonna.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty that I like.
Can I tell you what my favorite bet of the day is?
Go ahead.
You're gonna think it's disgusting.
I think
Iowa State plus 14.5 at Oklahoma.
Why?
Iowa State has, when they've been at full strength, they've played people tough in the league. They lost to Baylor by 11. They lost to Texas by 6. They lost twice to West Virginia. Both of those games were I think it was a total of like 11 points that they lost those two games. They had. How
are you not doubling down on Marshall?
Huh?
How are you not doubling down on Marshall?
I'm getting there, but just let me go through this Ohio State, this Iowa State thing, because it's my favorite bet of the day. And so they're getting people back healthy. After they came back from their 2-week pause, they were missing a bunch of guys, which is why they got blown out by Oklahoma State and Mississippi State. Javon Johnson's going to be back today. Solomon Young came back last game. Jalen Coleman-Lance has been back for 2 games. So it feels gross betting on a team that has 2 wins on the season, both of which came against SWAC opponents. But Iowa State's the play.
All right, you go.
We also got to fade Boston College today too, right?
You do you. Yeah, I don't. You know what? I was supposed to find out who's playing. Hold on, I'll try
I don't know. I don't know the name specifically who's out, but I was told it's 5-ish.
All right. Well, I know Rich Kelly's playing. Luke is playing. Who else? I'll find out here. All right. Yeah. I already took NC State. I already took NC State in that one. I took Creighton at Marquette, give him 4.5, just because I think Creighton's going to get going again. I hope Creighton's going to get going again because it hasn't been pretty. I like Purdue, giving 7 at home to Northwestern. Northwestern has lost 8 straight games. 8 straight games since everybody started falling in love with this Northwestern team. Purdue's been pretty darn good lately. I like Michigan State. I think they're going to take their frustrations out on Nebraska today. Nebraska hasn't played since January 10th, and they stink anyway. I know Michigan State's not good, but they're giving 11.5. I like that one. Colorado giving 5 against Arizona. Colorado, remember, the biggest disparity of any team in the country, home and away. The altitude matters. Arizona's got a bunch of new guys that haven't played at altitude like this, especially the foreign, the international guys. So I think it's going to affect them. Those are my high major plays. You got any other high major plays?
No, you mentioned them all. You said Michigan State. If you said Michigan State, then you mentioned all of mine.
I'll run through a few things at the low and mid major level. I'm gonna roll back on Marshall just because I don't know. I feel like they're not going to lose both against Old Dominion. Hopefully they cover. I like North Texas against Louisiana Tech. They lost at home yesterday, I believe. They're favored by 4. I fade SIU, Edwardsville, and SEMO every time right now. So
come on, baby, let's go.
Edwardsville will be playing its 7th game since a week ago Tuesday. Okay, they're playing Belmont, the best team in the league, at home. Belmont's favored by 17. Jacksonville State is playing SEMO. SEMO will be playing its 6th game since a week ago Tuesday. Jacksonville given 3 there. Colgate playing BU. I like Colgate. They're terrific. Matt Langle's done an unbelievable job there. BU hasn't played in a couple weeks. And Colgate's given 13.5. Anything else? Those are the main. Oh, what about this one, Rob? We haven't mentioned this one. I like this. St. Bonnie at St. Louis.
Oh, yeah.
Getting 3.5. St. Louis has played 2 games in 5 weeks. They've been terrible in those 2 games. They just lost to LaSalle. The Bonnies are the best team in the league. The best start for Mark Schmidt and the Bonnies in A-10 play, I think, ever. So I'm going full all in on the Bonnies and really fading St. Louis, who's probably the more talented team.
Yeah, I like the St. Bonaventure money line there. I'm with you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Anything else?
No, I know we went through a lot, but listen, if you're still here, go and download the BetSperts app and follow both of us on there. My name is Rob Dauster. Goodman is at Goodman Hoops. That's the best way to kind of track all of this stuff. It's much easier to go there and see it all written out than for us to just sit here and kind of roll through it all afterwards for you. So make sure to go do that. Download that app. Follow us there. That's the best way to kind of keep track of all this stuff.